Today I'm joined with David Crandell, and we're going to be discussing his company, MTL International Work and Travel, and he is going to be explaining a little bit about his company, who are his clients, and who are the workers who can find a job in specifically with the H2B visa. So let's get straight into it.
Great, thanks, Sarah.
Welcome, David. If you would like to tell me a little bit about MTL International Work and Travel.
Sure. We are an international labor company. We work with both H2B and J1 Visas and have clients here in Florida. I'm in Boca Raton, Florida, Southeast Florida, as well as around the United States, that we work both seasons, winter and summer, to help supply workers, intern trainees for peak season loads for hospitality operations, mostly golf courses, mostly private clubs, but we also handle some resorts and some restaurants as well.
Awesome. So why did you decide to get into international staffing as a career choice?
I was a club manager. I owned restaurants. I was a chef. I was a sommelier, a waiter all my life. I started my career as a cook, worked my way through the ranks, became a club manager, was the number 2 at a very large club for 11 years. We used international labor. We used H2Bs and J1s. My first exposure with operations was at Admiral's Cove 20 years ago with a large group, 90 internationals at that time. And I've worked with them ever since. To be honest, I just thought I could do a better job than what was being provided me. I thought it was very expensive, and I thought the quality of worker was marginal. It wasn't great. It took us a whole season to train people, and then by that time I was ready to leave. I never was told about in-country extensions, and I thought that there was a huge market. There's somebody focused on in-country extensions, that it would really help people get better employees and help the employees stay in the United States and work more. So that has been the focus, and it's led to out of country as well. We didn't do a lot of out of country initially, but time has just dictated that, we do much more out of country, and that's fine. It's just the natural progression of things. But to be honest, I just thought I could do a better job at a better price. And that's what I've tried to do.
Yeah, so you're talking about your target worker and how you feel now that you can provide clients with a great target worker. So what would be your target worker? If you could describe maybe what that is.
Yeah, we're looking for an experienced person. With in-country extensions comes at least 6 months of experience. And we try to translate that into the out-of-country experience as well. I've sat with numerous club managers, and I've told them that we are not that agency that loads up airplanes with first-timers, quote-unquote first-timers, and brings them over en masse. We select very carefully each worker that we provide and we put in front of people to interview, and those people have experience. My goal is to bring people from out of country that have been on H2B visas before. And a lot of people don't understand that. They don't, like it when we say we don't take first timers, but when there is a wealth of people out of country that can come back, there's really no reason to look at in-country people when we can present people with experience. So, it is that person that's got some seasons under their belt and have working knowledge of things all American, like Reuben sandwiches, grilled cheese, ranch dressing, chicken fingers, things like this. Because before you come here, you don't know what those things are. Just like if I went to Manila, I would know what balut was, or something in South Africa or Ireland or wherever that place was. So it's just all about shortening that learning curve for our client. The goal is to provide the best worker at the best price. And, price is what you pay and value is what you get. So, we do work for the club or the resort, the restaurant, whatever the case may be. We do help kids. We call them kids because they're half our age, if not more these days. And so, yeah, that's our target zone, is that, experienced.
Got it. So what you're, just to summarize, so what you're saying is that you prioritize hiring people who have previously had experience and know what it's like to maybe work in a club experience similar to what your clients are looking for a win-win situation, where the client is provided with a high quality employee, and then the employee already knows the process of everything as well. So touching further onto that, then who is your target client then?
Well, it's primarily private clubs, golf course based clubs, but yacht clubs, city clubs as well. We work with all private clubs, and private clubs are really the ones that can fund these programs because they are expensive. And these are not for profit businesses, 501(c) corporations that once they put something in a budget, it will stay there. And, membership has to support the management's vision of how they're going to run that club, because when these people build this beautiful, opulent private club, they don't know how they're going to run it. They don't think about that. So it's up to the paid professionals to figure that out. And, this is the alternative. I was a club manager. I'm CCM certified. I work through our association. I speak at conferences, national and local. We exhibit at our business expo every year, wherever that may be, at our world conference. So I am very active in CMAA, which is our Club Manager Association of America, which supports a lot of these programs. So awesome. Mostly private clubs.
And then if it was someone's first timer, because I know there may be some people listening to this video who would like to work on this visa for their first time. I know you're saying you prioritize to have returnees on this visa, but is there a possibility for first timers, and what would you be specifically looking for in a first timer?
Well, there's possibilities. Last year with pandemic, with borders closed in Western Europe and South Africa and Brazil, 3 fairly key countries for us, we had to look other places, and we had to take what we call first timers, people that haven't been here. The first timer has to come here. They have to get a social security card. They don't have one yet. So that's something the client has to do. And while that may seem simple, it's something we prefer to avoid. But for first timers, we look for people with cruise ship experience, big hotel longevity. We're looking for line cooks. We're looking for people that can cook production. We're looking for a la carte servers that can take orders, use point of sale system, describe wine, carry drinks, carry trays. They have to be experienced. So my clients pay a lot of money. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. And we have to be focused on value every single day. And value to them means a short learning curve. They don't want to invest a whole season in someone that's never eaten in a private club, let alone worked in one. So it's a completely different experience. When you talk, I talk about the 3 levels of service, and there's customer service when you go to a McDonald's or a gas station and you have a 4 to 10 minute transaction. Then there is guest service when you go to a nice restaurant or a hotel and they treat you like a guest. It's a little higher level of service. Then there's the member service, which is paid for, very exclusive, very expensive, and the time experience is much, much longer, sometimes years, that a person is a member. So that personal member experience is very, very important to learn and to understand. And other countries don't have the wealth of private clubs we do in the United States. And that's kind of the difference, because when I talk to somebody in Manila or Durban, they don't know what a private club is. They've never heard of it. They don't know the concept. So it's a very difficult thing to explain to people.
Yeah. And even speaking to that myself, when I first came from Ireland onto this visa, working on it myself, it was a big adjustment for the service. So I had to learn how to remember members' names, member recognition, remembering what their likes are, what their dislikes are. So that quality of service that is expected from us is quite high. So I understand what you're saying there. So what is your mission for MTL?
Well, simply, it's to get the best worker at the best price, and give the client the most service. I try to outservice my competition. We maintain very large, very detailed spreadsheets that are our reporting documents on a seasonal basis. Within those spreadsheets are uniform sizes, flight itinerary information, nicknames for name tags, pictures, resumes, all of their documents, email addresses, phone numbers. That's all supplied to the client, and it builds throughout season. Right now, we're working on our winter season, 2022-23, and every club has its own reporting document that, they have all the information from these clients. And it's to be able to give our clients as much as we possibly can, because just like they're trying to give their member this personal level of service, we're trying to deliver that personal level of service to them. So that's really the mission, is to provide the highest level of possible service, the best worker at the best price. And if I can do that day in and day out, people will hire us. Right. And they have. It's worked. It's been very effective.
So what would be how would a worker go about getting an interview with your company?
You have to apply on our website. Usually I'll get an email or an inquiry from Facebook or something, and I direct them toward the website, and you register online. I tell them to tell me after they've completed the registration. Then I tell my admin team to go to work to start scheduling interviews. We generally interview on Skype still. We're trying to find a clean platform to use that is easy for everybody and that works globally. Skype does that. It's free also. The other platforms like Zoom and Teams and things are a little more proprietary, and you have to have certain programs, and people don't have them on their phones. So most of the time, the candidates are using their phones and not a laptop like I'm on right now. So it's a little different ballgame, and the employers they don't understand that. They don't really stop to think that the employee is doing the interview in the back room of the club or the hotel, on their telephone. But It is what it is. So once that interview process is scheduled, they meet the potential club or client online. They do an interview, and then the club calls us or emails us to make an offer to those people. We send the offer and request all their documents, and away we go. So that's pretty much the process. I mean, that's simplified, obviously, but we just basically set up online interviews. We are not that company that travels and goes places to interview people. We do everything remotely. We reload every season. We are also that agency that does not require workers to come back to us every single season. We know that people are quote unquote free agents every 6 months and can go wherever they want to go. And in Florida in the winter, it's primarily a club experience. And in the north in the summer, there's many more options. There's clubs, there's hotels, resorts, restaurants, national parks, you name it. There's lots of opportunity for people to explore. And if I was an H2B worker, I would want to go see places in the United States. I don't think I would want to go back to the same place year after year after year. Obviously, that becomes our goal, because consistency for the client is very important to that client. The key to the whole thing is returning workers. So
Right.
it's a constant juggling act there. You're never going to solve it. So we try, but we don't condemn people to leave us in our network. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it makes sense. And being on the visa myself, I worked with a lot of people who did return to the same club again and again. And then myself and a couple of others took the other option to try working in a couple of different places. And it's all down to what the employee's goal is as well. If they are looking to also get that travel experience, or maybe they're looking to further their career, get more experience in clubs, and it depends on what their goal is, I'd imagine, as well.
Yeah.
So what about then, and I've touched on the prospective workers, so what about your clients then? How do they get in touch with you?
Mostly through CMAA. My visibility at conferences, we attend the World Conference and do a booth at the Business Expo. They see me there. I speak on H2B and J1 at the conference. They'll see me there. And the more they see you, it's a very small world of the Club Managers Association. So my clientele literally exists of about 3,500 people, that manage clubs around the United States. So I advertise in Club Management Magazine. We do a booth at the Expo. Last year, we sponsored the key cards for the World Conference, which had our QR code, our names, our emails, our phone numbers, description of our company on there. So 2,000 plus club managers that went to the World Conference in San Diego had to use our card to get into their room. So these are the ways that we, expose ourselves to people. And word of mouth is huge. When there's no substitute for a happy client or a happy worker, workers tell people about us, tell their places they are. Hey, contact David and Bia. And the clubs, the clients, the same thing. We'll get a club in Naples, and all of a sudden Naples just exploded. If you get the right club, you get the right client. Yeah, things have changed for us when we got bigger clubs like Admiral's Cove or Gray Oaks, one big one on the East Coast and one big one on the West Coast. And, if we can handle those two clubs, we can probably handle yours. Mm-hmm. So once those things happen, we really, really took off a couple of years ago. Awesome. During pandemic. Pandemic was our best years, believe it or not.
So what are some of the most common questions then to finish off that you would get asked by both workers and clients? So I'm sure your emails get a lot of the same question again and again. So if you'd like to maybe share some of those answers.
Well, the first thing I'll tell you is that we get a lot of emails that are not very complete. And that's a little bit disheartening that people can't take the time to type anything in the email whatsoever. If they just send you an email with no subject line and a resume, that kind of tells you about the worker right away. We look for, people that can formulate a message to us and have a thought process involved in the whole thing. A lot of people send us resumes that are not updated, and they want to tell us where they're working. And I said, I won't present a resume that's not current, that doesn't have your current job. It makes us both look bad. I just won't do it. And I kick it back to them. So, they come in all forms these days, of Facebook Messenger to Skype to Zoom to email to text to, you name it. I probably work on 6-8 medias every day. So it's a bit challenging. Some people only use WhatsApp. Some people only use Messenger. Some people, I direct everybody back to email because that's where I can connect everybody together. So the best method is to email us. We will get to you. People get upset that, maybe they don't get an interview fast enough or whatever the case may be. But when you're processing these kinds of numbers, it just, it is what it is. We'll get to you eventually. Just got to be determined. And the determined people are the ones that get through. You just have to keep trying. If you send a weak email message, you're not going to get that quality response that you would like. So you have to send a quality question to get a quality response. That makes sense.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, thanks so much for having this conversation. And is there anything else that you would like to maybe add or talk about before we do finish up shortly?
No, not really. I thank you for your time and thanks for talking about H2Bs and J1s. But, be determined. Don't give up. A lot of people, they start in kind of lower jobs and you have to work your way up. And if you want to be considered for the best jobs, you have to try to get the best experience and the most well-rounded. If you only have worked at a resort, it's difficult for us to present you to clubs. If you haven't attained that member service knowledge, you're just not as attractive to the club, to the manager. And you've worked in private clubs, and so you understand that level of personal service we're referring to. Once you accomplish that level of personal service and understand how private clubs work, you can go any place. You can work in a resort, you can work in a restaurant, you can work any place. But until you work in a private club, you can't really, it's hard to leave that restaurant resort area of working to go to that private club. So I encourage people to consider taking maybe a lesser job in a private club to get started so they understand what it's like setting up banquets and parties and events and doing multicultural cuisines. The clubs are French fries to Prague, celebrating every major holiday with a multi-$1,000 party, with bands and table decorations and you name it. You've seen it.
Yeah.
You've worked at quality places. So, get that club experience. People look for those tip jobs. I get it. We have a lot of clubs that are tipped still. We probably have more than anybody, I'm going to venture to say. But most clubs, do pay hourly rates. But do whatever you have to do to get that well-rounded experience on your CV or your resume. That's going to help the most. Yeah.
So what you're saying is to basically try what you can and what position you can take to get your way into a private club. Because once you do that, you can go anywhere.
At least some exposure, yes, because you limit yourself coming to Florida because the Florida market's all clubs in the winter. So if you're working resorts all the time in Nantucket or Mackinac or wherever it is, and then you want to extend for winter and you don't have any club experience, you're at a disadvantage. Clubs are different. A line cook at a club has to work way differently than a resort. It's just a whole different set of mechanics. It just is.
Well, thanks so much for coming on and for your time and for sharing all of your information, both for the employee and both for the client. So I'm sure anyone viewing this will have gathered a lot of great information as well.
I hope so. Thank you for your time, sir. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
You too.
Okay.